Vice, you dumbass! Start making sense, you rotten book, or you're gonna be sorry! Maybe I'll rip your pages out one by one, or maybe I'll put you in the goddamn furnace! How can someone with such a big smart brain get hypnotized like a little bitch, huh? Oh, Shadow Lord, I love you, Shadow Lord! Come over here and give Vice a big sloppy kiss, Shadow Lord! Now pull your head out of your goddamn ass and start fucking helping us!
So this is going to be a very different type of review for me. And I say that because NieR, the original NieR, which we got in the West, which is known as NieR Gestalt, but it was just simply named NieR in America. That game came out in 2010, and it's a game that really changed my life. It helped me get through some really rough times. I want to first off thank Square-Enix for providing the review copy of NieR Replicant. I never really thought I'd ever get to a point in my career as a content creator that I would be able to work with a company that I have grown up, from childhood to now in my 30s, just absolutely loving. I never thought I would have that opportunity, and to be able to cover the remake or the upgraded version of the game that I love from 2010, even though it's a Japanese version, which was the canonical one with Brother Nier. It's still amazing to be able to cover this game, and that Square-Enix gave me the opportunity. So first off, Square-Enix, thank you again for providing the review code for this game and the opportunity to cover it. So that being said, I'm Mekel Kasanova, I'm a Hawaii content creator, and let's get into this review of NieR Replicant version. How do you say this name? A bunch of numbers. And let's talk about it.
Is this the land of the gods? What is this? This thing? What can we do? It is done. At last.
This is Bravo 1. Unidentified target has been neutralized. Over and out.
Goddamn book.
The year is 2053, roughly 50 years following the events between the giant and the dragon in Tokyo. The protagonists, NieR, and his sister Yona are trapped in Shinjuku, Japan in an abandoned convenience store with nothing more than the clothes on their backs and a mysterious tome with a face on it beckoning for NieR to give in and trade his soul for the power it offers. NieR kicks the book across the room and then checks on his sister Yona, whom tries to cheer him up, of which he tells her not to touch that book under any circumstances. NieR is then alerted to the presence of strange, large, glowing yellow and black creatures known as shades. After fighting off a dozen of them, NieR is then knocked down and realizes he is powerless to stop them. Acknowledging his need for more power, he crawls towards the mysterious tome and is then able to destroy over 100 shades. Afterwards, NieR heads back to check on his sister Yona and notices that she has black insignias crawling up and down her skin after she touched the book. 1,436 years later, in the year 3,489, we encounter NieR and Yona again, around the same age that they were when the story began, being 16 for NieR and 7 years old for Yona, in a medieval-esque village governed by twin sisters Devila and Popola. Why has over a millennium passed, and what has happened to the world following the giant and the dragon? Why are NieR and Yona the same age? NieR Replicant has seen a substantial upgrade in the combat department as the controls have not only gotten tighter from the 2010 original release, but also more fluid, more responsive, and they added in a few things that was needed to make the combat feel more fluid and fun. Now added are the ability to lock onto enemies and toggle between them with the press and flick of the right stick. Another addition is the ability to do full-on parries and parry combos. Your controls consist of jump, light attack, heavy attack, dodge, block, counter, and magic usage. You can string together flurries of light and heavy attacks, and if you hold down the button for either heavy or light attack, then you'll either do an area clearing attack or a rushdown attack. You can mix in a variety of magic that you get along the way, from Dark Lance, which allows you to charge up several lances to throw at your enemies, to Dark Blast, which allows you to shoot magic at your enemies as if you were in a shmup or a shoot 'em up. Each weapon has its own stats, such as their strength and what their weight is, along with various buffs and advantages. You have single-handed use swords as well as two-handed swords. You'll eventually go on to gain various swords, daggers, short swords, spears, and more as the story progresses. You'll gain more magic abilities as you level up, of which can be fully remapped as you see fit to any button combination on your controller. As you defeat shades, they will sometimes drop words, of which you can equip to your weapons, magic, and abilities like dodge and guard. They act as stat buffs, which can increase your attack, magic, and defensive properties. Outside of combat is a wealth of side quests and content to dive into, all of which will be necessary if you want to unlock each additional ending to the game, such as the new ending E, which is adapted from the Grimoire NieR book, which was a novella that was exclusive to Japan, along with other contents from that book that are available in playable sections of the game. Talking to the NPCs in the game will open up various side quests, which range from simple tasks like eliminating a portion of shades, to fishing to catch a specific fish, to delivering mail to the lighthouse lady, and more. The best way for me to describe these side quests is that they do wonders in world building. Many reviewers, both in 2010 and even in present day, have complained about these side quests, calling them pointless fetch quests serving no real point to the overall plot, when they couldn't be further from the truth. The side quests such as the Lighthouse Lady serve to tell a very intricate backstory into a woman who's waited decades for her lover. The mailman who's been delivering her mail has taken it upon himself to continue writing letters to her as if he is her lover, both out of pity for her and also out of a need to keep the hope alive in her so that she will continue to light the lighthouse. The various stories that you come across dive very deep into the human condition and the various topics of morality, psychology, human frailty, mental health, free will, depression, individuality, collectivism, and much, much more. So definitely make time to explore these side quests. One very important thing I need to mention is the fact that this game requires multiple playthroughs in order to get the full scope of the story, as well as play all of the game. The game has 5 different endings, each with varying lengths and various events that occur only within that specific playthrough. New to this version of Replicant is Ending E, which adapts the novella Grimoire NieR's ending following Ending D and continues it onwards to give us a farewell to these characters, while also setting up the events to the sequel, NieR Automata. Many reviewers have bashed both the original game and this one, and yet have only completed the first playthrough and not seen all that this game has to offer, so I implore you to sink some time into this gem and not act like a typical modern day games journalist that can barely play or beat any video game. Yeah, I said it. Oh, and last thing, there's boar riding. You can even drift while riding these boars too in the open field, which is pretty freaking cool. NieR Replicant is a substantial upgrade over the original Japanese only release of the game, also known as NieR Replicant, whereas this one's known as NieR Replicant version 1.22474487139 which in essence is the square root meaning 1.5, as well as the one we got here in the West known as NieR, simply, also known as NieR Gestalt. The character models have substantially improved from Kaine to Emil to Devla and Popla to the protagonist NieR himself. The facial details from their hair and eyes to their clothing, all the way down to their weapons look impressive, bringing the visuals up to current generation standards, even though this is a last generation game. Compared to NieR Automata, NieR Replicant looks slightly better than that game with improved character models and textures. Kaine most definitely looks more like 2B and A9 than she did previously, but I assume that's just to keep the art style and aesthetics in line with the sequel. This version of NieR I've honestly had to take some time to adjust to because I personally am used to Papa Nier and is who I originally experienced the story with, and not Brother Nier. I know both are canonical, but I do prefer the look of Papa Nier. Brother Nier starts off looking like a traditional heroic pretty boy youth with his adventure garb, and then with the time skip he goes on to look more like Simon Belmont or Conan in a Bishonen way. It works ultimately. Also, something to note is the fact that Nier is not the protagonist's actual name as of now. That was retcon. Originally, his name was NieR. The novella, the drama CDs all refer to him as NieR. But I guess when they decided to create this as a franchise, they decided to retcon the name to protagonist, so it's whatever you want it to be. And then the franchise is now known as NieR. Go figure. The environments all look a lot better with updated textures and effects, along with a higher polygon count and improved draw distances, along with a better frame rate. On PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro, the game runs at 1080p 60 frames per second, with the Xbox One, One S, and Series S running at 900p at 60 frames per second, and the Xbox One X Series X version running at 1080p 60 frames per second. The PC version can run at 4K 60, 1440p, 60 frames per second, and 1080p 60 frames per second. As far as the audio goes, Keiichi Okabe is one of the greatest composers in gaming, as he has not only worked on the original NieR releases, but this entry as well and the sequel Automata. He's also worked on the Tekken series, Soul Calibur series, Super Smash Bros. Series, Ridge Racer, Final Fantasy XV, Final Fantasy XIV, and Drakengard 3. The composition of NieR Replicant and Gestalt is considered legendary in gaming, with amazing songs such as Kaine's Salvation, Shadow Lord, Song of the Ancients, Karma, and so much more. There is not a bad song or single bad song on this OST at all, and every single song on this track will evoke emotion out of you. The voice acting has all been re-recorded with the entire original cast, with the only exception being Jamison Price not being the main voice of NieR in this entry, as NieR is now voiced by both Zach Aguilar and Ray Chase. Price is still in the game as NieR, but only has one line, and that's during the 15 Nightmares side quest, where you get to play as Papa NieR. The voice acting in the original game was outstanding and way ahead of anything else that was on the market, and yet the delivery of lines in the new recordings is absolutely stunning. Laura Bailey absolutely slays as Kaine in every line she delivers, especially the infamous opening with her swearing at Vice. Liam O'Brien is still the star of this game as the smarmy, ostentatious Grimoire Vice. I can listen to Liam deliver his lines all day because this man is absolutely stunning. Now, here are some downsides you should be aware of. If, and this is more likely than anything else considering that NieR Automata is the game that really jumped a lot of people into this franchise, but if you're coming from only having played NieR Automata, then you may feel put off by both the gameplay and the pacing of the story, because the combat system for Replicant was done by Toy Logic and not by Platinum Games. Many will expect the same free-flow combat with layers of depth and creative ways to punish enemies in Replicant that they experienced in Automata, and will be disappointed that it isn't there to the same degree. Yoko Taro wanted to update the gameplay to appeal to Automata fans, but not change too much of the original game's combat, that way that it doesn't lose its essence and identity. And while I find that the perfect balance was struck, I can easily see Automata only fans upset with it. The pacing of the initial half of the game and lack of fast travel are other issues that will annoy some. The game has you doing a lot of fetch quests for NPCs, and the reason that you're doing them is to not only progress the plot and world build, but also to get you used to how this game wants you to play it. And that honestly might come off as too slow or too plotted and padded for many, especially when you need to run from point A to B at times on foot without fast travel. I think the biggest downside here is that if you started with Automata, then the bulk of the major reveals in Replicant won't hit as hard and will feel not as grand as some. The lack of 2B and 9S for many is already a sour point, which I find odd considering that this game came before that. And I think another downside, and this is more so for someone who, like myself, that started with Drakengard, and even for those who started with the original NieR, is that we're now, as from 2017 to now, we've personally had to deal with this just enormous onslaught of new gamers that have just jumped into the franchise with Automata, and honestly they deem themselves to be experts and fans of NieR, and they've never played anything else in this franchise. They've never played Drakengard 1 through 3, they've never played the original NieR, they've never read any of the novellas, they've never listened to the drama CDs, they've never watched any of the stage plays. All they know is that one game, and what I'm seeing a lot, especially with a lot of reviewers, and it's something that's really been annoying me, is seeing reviewers do nothing but, and I understand it, but they're doing nothing but comparing Replicant to Automata and making Replicant feel inferior. And it's just because this is the game, you know, Automata is the game that they started with. And my thing is, if you're gonna judge a game, judge it by its own merits. Yes, you can reference to the other sequel, but to bash a game for not having the exact same mechanics of its sequel is pretty stupid to me, in my opinion. I think that if you enjoyed Automata, you will enjoy Replicant. A lot of the things will not hit as hard, yes, but be respectful to those who have been with this franchise since 2003. Because if you're such an Automata NieR fan, then why do a lot of you not know about Drakengard, the Watchers, the Queen Beast, the Gods, the Red Eye? Because you should. Because NieR Automata draws very heavily from all of that. Learn your lore, is all I'm saying. And respect those of us who have been with this franchise from the beginning. And even from the original NieR. And here's the wrap up. NieR is a game that is very near to my heart. It is a game that helped me get back into gaming and work through massive depression and grief in 2010 when I lost my first daughter to health complications. I related fully to Papa Nier and his struggles to do any and everything that he could for his daughter, Yona, as I did all I could for my daughter Kaylee, and like NieR, in the end, it wasn't enough. There are not many characters in gaming that I can personally relate to, and I'm not one of those people who lobbies for representation in gaming and media solely on the basis of a character sharing the same skin color as me or features. I seek representation in characters that I can get behind and understand on a deeper level. For me, that's Papa Nier, and the willingness to do anything for the sake of his daughter. I relate to that, and that I feel is something that's representative of many. While I don't relate to Brother Nier quite as much, I am still one who can respect the character and his drive to protect his sister, even in the most dire circumstances. What NieR and Yoko Taro's works have taught me is that life isn't a fairy tale, and that tragedy is ever present and can hit home at a moment's notice. And yet despite that, we have to do all we can to continue moving forward and making the most out of what we have in this thing called life. NieR Replicant version 1.5, which is what I'll refer to it as, was an absolute joy to play through and overall to experience again. In the time skip since I last played Gestalt in my early 20s to where I'm at now in my early to mid 30s. With an absolutely brilliant story, phenomenal gameplay, excellent characters that stay with you long after this journey ends, incredible graphics, outstanding voice acting, and a soundtrack that is one of the greatest OSTs of all time. NieR Replicant version 1.5 is a game I cannot recommend to you enough to go out and not just to play, but to go out and experience. This is my game of 2021. And the game of the year for me, and a return of one of gaming's greatest stories. The verdict: immediately buy this game. And that's the review for NieR Replicant version 1.5. I want to say again thank you to Square-Enix for giving me the opportunity to cover this game. It really means a lot to me. This game has touched me. Just both the newer, this upgraded version, the original, and then just the franchise as a whole has touched me on a very, very, very deeply personal level. And I know Yoko Taro will probably never see this. Square Enix will probably never notice this, but I really want to say thank you. Yoko Taro, thank you first and foremost for creating this masterpiece of a franchise and this masterpiece of a game, for creating a story unlike anything else in gaming. Thank you for that, because it very much moved me. And Square Enix, thank you for the opportunity to cover this game. This is truly a dream come true, and I'm always eternally grateful for this. With that being said, what are your thoughts on NieR Replicant version 1.5? I'm tripping up on that name. Did you enjoy it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are there things that you wish were improved? Do you relate to Brother Nier? Do you miss Papa Nier? Do you just name your character NieR when you play this game? Because regardless of the retconning, you know the character's NieR. Or are you an Automata only player who snubs your nose at anything that's not Automata? And Android's an ass. Whatever your thoughts are, let's get the conversation going down below in the comment section. If you want to take the conversation further, we do have Discord. Hop in the Discord community, meet some other people, talk about NieR and other franchises. We also have Guilded. If you want to join my guild, I have a link for that in the description. It's an alternative to Discord and one that I think is a lot better. And if you got this far and you haven't already, if you enjoyed this review and the content I put out, then go ahead, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. Let's get this video up. 100 likes. If we can make that, if not, it's cool. Doing this review is very emotionally draining for me. Having to relive through everything over the last 12 years. So this is very much for me a very deeply personal review. All that being said, thank you for watching. I'm Mekel Kasanova. I'm a Hawaii content creator, and I'm signing out before I get choked up again. I dedicate this review to my daughter Kaylee Ray, in loving memory of her. Daddy loves you, little girl. I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces wild, too sweet, be the elite. Peace. Blessings to each and every one of you. Mahalo for making it to the end of the video. I really appreciate your support by those of you who like the videos, who watch and who subscribe. And for those of you who are my Patreon supporters, thank you for your continued support because you help make this possible. If you enjoy my work and you'd like to support what we do have Patreon on patreon.com/Mekel Kasanova. We also have Coffee as well as Subscribestar. So there's various methods if you want to support the work that we do here. We also have membership, so make sure you check that out. That way you get up to date on all the latest and greatest content that comes here, and first, and exclusive content as well. And if you enjoy the work that I do and you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So with that being said, I'm Mekel Kasanova, Hawaii content creator. I hope to see you on the next one. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ding the notification bell. And all that being said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.